Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael O'Brien, President of the Cork County Boxing Board, and you're all very, very welcome this morning as we pay tribute here to Maurice Walsh. It's fantastic that the gods have conspired to be with us, or the one God that we believe in, and Maurice, we believe, is with him as well, and he had some amount of influence up there as much as he had down here. But equally, everybody, we are thrilled to see you all here this morning. It's an occasion when everybody in Cork boxing has an opportunity to reflect on what Maurice Walsh did through his involvement with the sport for approximately 35 years. In that time, he left a legacy, a landmark, and he blazed a trail which is absolutely outstanding in boxing parlance, not only in Cork but Munster and internationally. And this morning, because of the elite finals going on tonight, the President of the IABA, Dominic O'Rourke, cannot be with us, neither can the CEO, Fergal Carruth. But both of those lads wrote to me yesterday and sent me texts to state clearly that they are with us here today, and that they'd be delighted always, and always were delighted, to be associated with Maurice and what he had done. And they regret seriously the fact that they cannot join us, because they have been with us in the park on numerous occasions in the past. This morning we pay tribute to Maurice, and I will now call on the first speaker prior to everybody remain standing as we hear from our piper, Norman O'Ron Levian. I now call on the Deputy Lord Mayor of Cork, who is the boxing Lord Mayor for many of our occasions over the last couple of years. Delighted, a big hand for Councillor Fergal Dennehy.
President of the Cork Boxing Association, President of the Ex-Boxers, and I want to acknowledge my former colleague, former Senator and Councillor and businessman Dean O'Quegan here as well this morning. Truly is a pleasure and an honour for me to be here this morning and to participate in this wonderful event. I suppose for many reasons. I have fond memories of Maurice, you know, going to tournaments, and that gentleman, that smile that you always greeted with, you know, that friendly, caring person that you could tell the love in his heart, you know, you could tell his love for boxing. And Maurice's story, you know, from Rhode Island down to Shanagarry, you know, it's an amazing story. And there's two things, I think, two beliefs that Maurice had that that I really loved, and that was, one of them was the club structure. You know, Maurice believed that, you know, it's a legacy that you leave behind. You come, you do your work, and you move on, and you leave a club behind you that will move on, you know. And he believed in that, and that's why the structure there was so good. The second thing was young people. Maurice had a great belief in young people, you know. And in boxing we try to instill the discipline and the training and that in young people, but Maurice knew there was far greater than that. Like, it was an education in life, you know. And as many people do here today, Maurice made the difference to so many young people's lives down in East Cork, you know. It wasn't just about winning titles and boxing and that. And obviously, you know, Maurice's family have had huge success in boxing circles, but there was also that belief in young people, you know. And yeah, St. Coleman's, so I was thinking during the week, St. Coleman's, September 1985, Closh, Stefan Nefa, Tremor Road. the Torco Boxing Club tournament, and at the time my father was Lord Mayor. No pressure on boxing, father and the first citizen in the audience, and who will I get? So the draw came out Shanagarry, St. Coleman's. Brilliant. I given a lesson in boxing about 2 weeks ago, previous time, in the Glen Hall, and I got boxer of the day for it. Bring it on. He must be a glutton for punishment, you know. Shanagarry was about that winner. In my mind at the time he was only a 15-year-old. Jab and move, that's why I did in the Glen. But I wasn't jabbing and moving in Stefan if I was going in. But halfway through round one, I was hitting him over there and he was actually over there, you know. But he was one of the young people that Maurice brought on, you know. Maurice would have been, the club would have been only recently reformed at that stage in 1985. And he was one of these boxers. He came back and he taught me a lesson, and I have no doubt when he went back to his club, Maurice taught him a lesson in boxing. So I have very fond memories of Maurice, and I think, you know, I have great admiration for each and every one of you here today, and I must say it's wonderful and it's very special to see so many young people here today, you know. It's great to see people I haven't seen in a very long time, and it's great for, you know, the boxing fraternity in Cork to finally be back together again. But you know, a great admiration for the coaches in every boxing club, you know. There's the head coaches, there's the administrators, the people that do the door, the people that, you know, wash the gear, and you know, it's an incredible commitment that each and every one of you make to boxing. And today we're honouring a man who made that commitment to boxing for 35 years, and it truly is an honour and a pleasure for me to be a part of this, you know. I want to thank Maurice's family for your attendance here today, but also for giving him to us, for giving him to the boxing community, for changing so many young people's lives over 3 decades. You know, I want to thank the family for that. It's a huge commitment. I know the commitment. I see my own club in Torque, the commitment, you know, Shane and Louise and the rest of them put into boxing. It's a 7 days a week, and Maurice was like that as well, you know. So again, it truly is an honour for me to be here today to celebrate the life of Maurice and to unveil a plaque, you know, lest we forget. Come on, Gil.
I'd like to acknowledge the presence here also today before I call on our next speaker, who is Billy O'Sullivan, who speaks on behalf of the Cork County Board here today. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Brendan Mooney, who's with us here today, a man who wrote for years and years and years about Cork boxing, and he knew Maurice exceptionally well, and we're delighted with his presence. You're very welcome here this morning, Brendan Mooney. I'd also like to, there's a plaque up behind me here this morning with all our Olympic representatives down through the years, and they're all named, they're all the people who represented Cork and Ireland at Olympic level, and they're led here by Paul Buttermer this morning, who was an Olympian in Barcelona in 1992, and with Paul scattered around is Gordon Joyce and the Walshes and a few more senior champions that I can't see right now. But delighted to have you with us, because your success represented what Maurice achieved as well with his last senior championship in Dr. Ian Falvey in 1992. Green news shall I give you now, the Vice President of the Cork County Board for now anyway, Billy O'Sullivan.
It's an honour to be here representing the County Board. I suppose it's more of an honour for me being a Shanagarry person and a former St. Coleman's boxer myself. It's great to see Margaret here looking so fantastic as usual, and all the Welsh family as well. It's an honour to have you all here and to be here for Maurice on this special occasion. I suppose growing up, for me in Shanagarry, we didn't have much to do. We had hurling and football or boxing. That was our options. So I suppose it was just into the boxing club, and you know, it was great to see, you know, like through the years, all the people that came through the club, like what Maurice Walsh did in Shanagarry, a small village out in the countryside, turning it into one of the best boxing villages in the country. It just speaks dividend to the man himself, his own sons, like, you know, the best boxing family in Ireland. Yeah, look, like I said, I'm not going to keep you too long. There's more qualified guys coming up after me to talk about Maurice. But look, Maurice in recent years, you know, he was always still to the front of the club. The lads came in, Penn, Liam and Anthony, they came in and took over the coaching side of it. But Maurice was always in the background, roaring and shouting. And I just remember one occasion, a few years back, I think it was probably our most recent championships actually, and the lads were in the corner, and I can remember it was the right corner because it was right alongside me. I was up at the top table, and it was right alongside me. And Liam and Anthony were doing the corner, and it just speaks, you know, about Maurice and, you know, the respect we had for the man, and I suppose he just instilled a bit of frightfulness in us in the person he was. But Maurice was standing behind the two boys in the corner, and he was roaring and shouting. And I just looked over at Liam, and Liam looked over at me, and then we both just said, I'm not going to tell him to sit down. There's no way I'm going to tell him to sit down. He can just do what he wants. But look, that's just the kind of guy he was. Look, I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to pass you back to Mick, and he's going to keep the proceedings going for today. But look, it's an honour to be here. It's an honour to see everyone here. And look, this is a great occasion for a great man. Thanks.
Thanks, Billy. Thanks, Billy. And Billy has outlined there a lot of things about Maurice. I had an opportunity to go on local radio in y'all last week, and I reflected on Maurice and what I knew about him down through the years. That has been taped and sent out there during the week through all the clubs to everybody. But following on from that, I got a phone call from Noah last night in his Cork radio, and he said to me, the amount of calls, he said, we received, not about me, but what I said about Maurice Walsh from East Cork and from sports people throughout GAA, rugby, athletics. The radio station were inundated with the goodwill that was out there for Maurice. And I would now ask you to give those people who got in touch with that radio station a big round of applause, because they acknowledge Maurice. And on that, now I will call on his son at this stage to address the gathering here this morning. Big hand for Kevin Walsh this morning.
I'm not sure how this is going to go now, so bear with me. When we arrived at the fights, Dad would say when we arrived, go get them guys, so we knew we had to be in the zone then, so I'm going to go off that and hopefully it'll work anyway. First I'd like to thank the Lord Mayor. I just had in my notes to thank the Lord Mayor, but I have to elaborate on that because I've notes here, and the Lord Mayor I think took most of my speech, because you must have known my dad really well, and you had him to a T, and I really appreciate your lovely words. Thanks very much. I'd like to thank the Cork ex-boxers for all the work you've done today and all through the years. You're keeping the show on the road. You're people we aspire to, so thanks very much for everything. I'd like to thank Michael O'Brien for his nice words, especially on the radio last week, and Billy for his lovely words there as well. I'd like to thank Dan O'Connell for organising it, for unveiling the plaque for Dad. I think it's very fitting, because Dad had unreal respect for Dan. When Dad started boxing first, he wouldn't have known much about boxing, but he always went to Dan. Dan would have been great friends with John Hartnett, and as a result he bought a mobile home down in Shanagarry. I think St. Coleman's claimed Dan ever since that summer. My first experience with Dan was when Billy was boxing in the Munster Championships. He was boxing in the final against the lad from Knocknagoshel, and that same day Dan disqualified Billy for low blows. So that was my first time remembering Dan. Pa was delighted though, because he ended up winning more Munster titles than Billy because of it, so it's fine. Just lately there I saw on Facebook there was a clip of Dan O'Connell and John Hartnett down the boxing club, and John had his Dickie bow and full box referee gear on down. They were in the middle training the team. There was a television crew from America, I think, and they were filming Sunnyside and St. Coleman's, but I think that was definitely staged, because I don't think John Hartnett ever had all the full gear down in boxing training. But just Dan, thanks very much, and the family are really humbled, and thanks for everything over the years. I'd like, just on the Facebook, I'd like to just mention about Michael Keller set up the Cork Facebook page. I'm not on Facebook myself, but I scroll down through the wife's Facebook, but I'm not allowed to comment. So I just want to take this opportunity. I suppose in the last year or so it's been a low, tough year for me and for everyone with the pandemic and all that's gone on. But in low times, I've been scrolling through Facebook and I might see a picture of my dad and lovely comments, and it's put a smile on my face and made me happy for the day. So I think we should all, for me anyway, and I think a lot of my boxing peers, what Michael Keller has done, we really appreciate it, and thanks very much, Michael. Thanks. I'd like to thank all the great coaches that were around in my day, and I know there's lots of coaches since, lads my own go, but I'm going to mention the ones from when I was young, and I apologise for people I don't mention, but I think it's important because Dad has been honoured here today, but there's loads of people like my dad who I really looked up to and helped me and my dad throughout the years, and all the boxers of my time. Alvy Murphy from Sunnyside, John O'Neill from South Parish, Tom Kelleher, he was Ballylandin with the Glen now, Willie Harris, father, Horgans, John Mahon from I, Paddy Casey, Leaside Lough, Dan Matthews, Blarney, Owen Buckley, South Parish, the Barry brothers, Jimmy Murphy from Toker, Billy Donovan, Leaside Lough, and many, many more. I know there's brilliant people giving their time to the youth of today, and we really appreciate that, and thanks very much. I suppose just a bit of a background on Dad. I suppose the club started around 1995. I think it was 94, late 93, 94. It was a man came down from Cork who started it up, and I don't even know his name. He lasted a week or two, and he left. But then John Hartnett, Father Bertie Troy, a few others, Noel O'Brien, Timmy Murray, they kept it going, but it was tough. And my four brothers and myself, Michael, Sean, Billy, Pam, myself, we kept getting on to Dad to come down and train us, and he was very reluctant. He had a lot going on and he wouldn't come for a while, but eventually I think Billy probably was the most person into the boxing at the time, and he persuaded him to come down, and he did eventually. And at the start it was fairly raw, to be honest. Now John Harney would have had a background in boxing, but my father had no background, and think we weren't great. Now Michael and Sean, my eldest brothers, were probably the guinea pigs, and as a result their careers didn't last too long. I think Packy Donoghue and my brother Michael would have fought, Robbie O'Driscoll and Sean. I think that was the end of them after that. But I suppose in 1985 then the All-Irelands was on in the City Hall in Cork, and the same day Billy won St. Coleman's first All-Ireland. And just prior to that, actually, as Lord Mayor said about boxing Dan Shanahan. Dan Shanahan was our first boxer ever to box in the All-Ireland, so he was a good opponent there. But in 1985, I think the club just took off from that day. I remember at that time from Shanagarry you couldn't get transport up to Cork that easy. There's a load of lads in the village wanted to go, but they couldn't come. And so my father was never a problem, it was always solutions, and that was just him. So he hooked up the horse box, and the horse box was full of lads, and we stopped outside the City Hall. The door went down and around 20 of us jumped out of the horse box. I was one of them myself. I remember the looks we got that the coaches are in town. So, but it was just the man he was. He'd always make something happen. I suppose his strength was his fitness, discipline and tactics. He didn't know nothing about boxing, but from his background in America he was really fitness fanatic and was tough as a son and as a boxer, but it really helped us. And his tactics didn't. He would have used numbers for different combinations and stuff through the American football and stuff. But other than that, he learned everything from Cork boxing, from Alvy Murphy, John O'Neill, and Tom Keller, and loads more. But only for you helping him, I wouldn't be standing here today, I think. And it just shows the family of Cork boxing is great. I remember Alvy Murphy, Pam McGrath and Billy would have had great rivalry, and Albie was Pat's coach, and Albie looked after Billy like his son as well. They were just for the best for the boxers, and I think that is a great thing to have. So that just he had the ability to get the best out of lads. He coached the person, not the boxer. It didn't matter the ability of the boxer. He gave them the same time, and he got a great kick out of them, improving as winning All Irelands. He had a great understanding of knowing the lads outside of boxing, outside of just trying to improve them, trying to get All Irelands out of them. It was about their personal life. There was a lot of lads had tough times, and he could see through them, and he'd spend time with them, and he had a way, I don't know what it is, but he had a way of helping lads. And I remember as in Youghal, with my wife having a meal, and the waitress came over and she said her son was going through a really rough time years ago, and that only for Dad, he didn't know how he would have got through it. So I think my dad's legacy for me would be that he'd be remembered for stuff like that, as well as all the success he would have had in All Irelands and all that. He took great pride out of lads doing well in boxing, or outside of boxing doing well in their careers, like becoming a doctor, or professional, or do really well. We used to always get a great kick out of it, because no matter what they done, it was always because of the boxing. That's how he got there. But it had nothing to do with the 6 years in college or anything. In my dad's eyes, it was the boxing. So we got a great kick out of that. I suppose equally he would have got really upset if things didn't go well with lads, because the percentage was always going to be a few fall through the cracks, and it really hurt them. They were, like, everyone was like family to him, the kids, the youth. It really did hurt them. So I suppose we always said he had two families. He had the boxing family, and he had the family at home, and it probably wasn't that order as well, I'd say. I'd like to thank his boxing family for all your help, the Cork County Board, and especially John Wiseman throughout the years, because I know John was great help to Dad. And I'd like everyone just to give a round of applause to John, because he was really great for St. Coleman. I'm sorry if I'm leaving people out there, but John was really good, and he was really good to us. I'd like to thank the coaches at St. Coleman's throughout the years, especially John Hartnett, John O'Connor, Bernie O'Connor here, his brother, who was a great friend of mine. He was the good cop, and my dad was the bad cop, so John looked after us. Timmy Murray, Adrian Lewis, and Pat O'Brien, who was here. Thanks for your help through the years. And I'd especially like to thank the current coaches, Liam Hickey, Anthony O'Connor, Barry Kelly, Josephine and Mary. Thanks so much. You have got kids through this pandemic. You have gone above and beyond, and I know my dad is looking down on you, and he's saying he's really happy what you've done. And looking out here today, just my own club I'm on about there, but I know the coaches of all these clubs here, and you have kept it going. It's been a really tough time for boxing, for the youth, but these coaches are above sport, above boxing. They have kept kids going through a pandemic, and I think you need to be commended for that. Thanks very much. To the boxers, all boxers from all clubs, I'd just like to say you got my dad up every day with a drive and a passion for life that you couldn't imagine. I know he would say you were the most important people here today. So please, the youth, the young boxers, leave here today, be inspired to do the best you can, whatever that is, wherever it gets you, and just leave no stone unturned, and I'm sure you will reap your rewards in time to come. And lastly, my dad was really lucky that he was able to spend so much time with boxers and travelling and travelling the world really, and Ireland, but only for my mother at home, minding the bar, doing the hours, keeping the food on the table, keeping the show on the road. She was the backbone of all this, and on behalf of all the boxers that my dad helped, thanks very much, Mom. And just lastly, for the people here today, looking around me, seeing all the clubs and all the different tracksuits, my dad would be humble. He'd hate being in the limelight, but he would be delighted behind it all. Just to see you come out, give your time, my family, myself and my club were humbled, and we'll be forever grateful for that. Thanks very much, and the best luck. And also just to Tommy Hyde, it's fitting. Tommy Hyde is playing the elite final tonight. I know my dad loved Tommy, and Gary, he trained Gary, his dad, and it'll be fitting now. Hopefully Tommy will win elite for Cork today. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you very much indeed, Kevin. That was a beautiful tribute. The strength and the rock that Margaret was behind it, the whole family and the whole club, and we're delighted to have her here to see what's happening here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now coming to the part of the ceremony where we're about to unveil the plaque. But before we unveil the plaque, the man who will unveil it is going to address you. Now, prior to that, I want to thank a number of people that's involved in putting this together here today. The associations through the Cork County Board, John Weisman, Paddy McSweeney, the Xboxers, but importantly, Martin Coleman with the Fire Brigade and Secretary of the Xboxers does an outstanding job in putting the rig up here behind me for everybody that's honoured, all the time. Dougie Minahan does another outstanding job all the time, covering our events, no matter where they are, he does an outstanding job. And now over the last couple of events, Norman O'Rourke, our Piper, is with us. So a big hand for those three who are invaluable to the success of this. Now, it's fantastic to see the number of clubs that are here today, but I want everybody to reflect on this. 50 years ago, 1971, boxing in Cork was dead, flat on the ground. One club with one senior boxer, Harry Butt, Father Horgans. The army were involved, but they were only involved with competition within the realms of the services. But the man that's going to address you now next and unveil this plaque is the man responsible with the late Victor Aston for picking boxing up off the ground and commencing through the community games, starting that engine which became a train, which became absolutely to this present day a fantastic machine that is well oiled. That's what boxing is today in Cork. And we must never forget that that engine was oiled by the man that I am now going to introduce to address you and who will unveil that plaque. A man who was president of the Cork County Board, president of the Munster Council, acknowledged as an international referee and judge, and a man who gave 40 years to boxing, 20 years of that to the St. Coleman's Club, and a man who has probably the city and county's greatest ambassador ever. A big hand for Dan O'Connell.
Just before I begin, Kevin reminded me of a saying that the apple never falls very far from the tree. Just to say you did your family, your father and your club proud today, and we were very proud of your performance. Well done. Deputy Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, President of the Cork County Board, President of the Cork Xboxers Association, Mr. Dennis Cregan, friend. Today we honour an adopted son of Cork, a very special person and an extraordinary coach, who through his personality and coaching skills inspired hundreds of boxing athletes and was a great friend to Cork boxing, Maurice Walsh. I am proud, privileged and honoured to be able to say that Maurice and I were friends for many years, and today I wish not only to acknowledge Maurice, the memory of Maurice, but also the Walsh family magnificent contribution to amateur boxing both inside and outside of the ring. I will, however, begin by saying a thank you to you for your attendance here today, and to all, as the President has mentioned, who contributed to making this commemoration possible. With a special word of appreciation to the Cork Xboxers Association and the Cork County Board for their support. A special word of thanks must also go to today's Chief Organiser and our MC today, President of the Cork Board, Mick O'Brien. Mick, as normal, has thanked everybody except himself, so I will take the opportunity to acknowledge him. Mick, I know Maurice would want me to acknowledge your considerable input into today's success, and I also know that Margaret and the Welsh family appreciate your efforts and acknowledge your ongoing support to them and to the wider Cork boxing family, and for that we all thank you. Maurice was not only an extraordinarily successful coach to St. Coleman's Boxing Club, but he also left his mark with many successful Cork teams and many times took charge of teams in international competition and international championships. And he is highly respected and thought of at every level of our association. On the personal level, he was a coach who gave everything of himself, kept on giving, and then gave some more. He was, as a coach, totally selfless in every way, but he did, however, expect his efforts to be matched in return. Like all good coaches, he could at times be a tough taskmaster. I believe 110% would be an appropriate effort he expected in return from his charge. And I know there are people present today who would know exactly what I'm talking about. Plus a little more than that when it came to his own sons, Billy, Kevin and Per, who, as all of you know, responded magnificently to the challenge, winning 22 Irish titles between them, and all of them proudly representing Ireland at international level under Maurice's guidance, a magnificent achievement by any standards, by any one family, in any sports code, and for that we recognise you. Also. Maurice was a warm, humble and friendly man, a family man, but above all a gentleman and friend to all who knew him. He was a person who gained the respect of the community he lived in through at least 3 generations of young hopefuls and their parents, who not only respected him but fully appreciated his support, friendship and guidance on an ongoing basis. And I think that's already been reflected by the previous speakers about the personage of Maurice. Maurice himself was a person who appreciated very much his friends and colleagues, especially in boxing. His openness and generosity of spirit to everyone was recently described by our president, or the president of the board, Michael O'Brien, as him, Maurice that is, having the humanity to listen, the capacity to learn, and the generosity of spirit to impart his knowledge to all. High praise indeed, and so richly deserved. His name will always be remembered with pride as a coach who always got the best out of his boxers, and in return from him, they received skills, experience, confidence, and wisdom, culminating in hundreds of Cork, Munster, and national titles, in addition to many international singlets. Recently, we were all reminded by COVID-19 that family, friends, community, the giving and caring for others, it is what is most important in life. But long before COVID, Maurice lived and practiced by this code, expressed to his love of boxing, his commitment to family, to club and to community. His legacy is a very positive one and will continue to be appreciated by the wider Cork boxing family and St. Coleman's Boxing Club in particular for many years to come. To be honoured by one's family, to be honoured by one's peers, to be honoured by one's city is surely the greatest honour of all. And to be commemorated in such a unique Cork way, such as we are witnessing today in this park, with the blessing of the Cork Ex-Boxers Association and the Cork County Boxing Board, in addition to our City Council. There is no other wall, there is no other city, There is no other boxing community that honours its boxing personalities and champions, both past and present, from both inside and outside the ring in this very unique way. And I'm coming to a conclusion, so I'm going to take the opportunity to repeat that last piece because I think there's a lot in it. There is no other wall. There is no other city. There is no other boxing community that honours its boxing personalities and champions as displayed on the wall, both past and present, from both inside and outside the ring in this very unique way. The wider Cork boxing family, including the Cork County Board, Cork ex-boxers, the Cork Boxing Fraternity and the Friends of Cork Boxing, should be justifiably proud of this achievement, as should our city, through the support of our City Council. How appropriate it is then to honour and commemorate one who originally came to us from Rhode Island, was affectionately known as Pip to his friends, but became one of our own, our coach, our champion, and our friend, Maurice Pip.
That was an absolutely outstanding tribute to Maurice Walsh. And thank you very much indeed, Dan, for that well-researched, well-addressed piece to everybody here this morning. I'd like to thank each and everybody this morning for their presence and as well for the respect and the silence and the way everybody listened and learned about Cork boxing, its history and its roots, and the contribution of the great Maurice Walsh. I am now this morning going to ask Dan to formally unveil the plaque. Following on from that, Norman will play, and this is an occasion in history, in Cork, in boxing, and for everybody to be associated with the St. Coleman's Club as friends here this morning. Really usual, I now call on Dan O'Connell to officially unveil the plaque to the legend that was Maurice Walsh, Shanagarry, Cork and Irish boxing. This plaque is dedicated to an outstanding boxing ambassador, Maurice Pip Walsh, St. Coleman's, BC, who achieved success as a coach through dedication, determination, knowledge and a passion for amateur boxing, a leader to many and an example to all, unveiled by Dan O'Connell. Thank you, Dan. A big hand, ladies and gentlemen, for the Walsh family. Maurice Pip Walsh. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all coming here today. I appreciate the word of being shown. Now, standing together tomorrow.
Job done.